Hey guys, Tommy here, and if you guys don't know me, I'm an accountant and I post videos on YouTube every single day. However, today I watched a video by MrBeast. If you guys don't know, it's a big contest. This guy Mark literally won $1 million by keeping his hands on $1 million for literally around like almost 48 hours or so. So almost 2 days holding his hands on $1 million. Now, the first thing is this, guys. In this video, I really want to emphasize one thing, okay? This entire situation is pretty unique, it's pretty awesome, and here's why. No one in their right mind would give away $1 million by putting their hands there. And the idea is that this only happens in two situations, you know, either by a lottery system or, you know, you get an inheritance or something crazy happens. So the entire situation here is still a blessing no matter what to Mark, because Mark would have never had the opportunity if MrBeast didn't give him the opportunity. However, in this video, I want to break down did the things he actually bought, were they good, were they bad, and what do I think is going to happen to Mark in the next like 5 years or even less than 5 years. By the way, guys, whenever someone gets this much money all of a sudden, and usually by lottery system or inheritance, by the way, they don't make it past 5 years living that lifestyle, and usually they go right back to being the same person they were before, living in the same situation, in the same neighborhoods, with the same financial status. So in this video, I'm going to analyze everything in this video and where I think Mark went wrong, where I think he went correctly, and if I think MrBeast kind of played him or didn't play him, okay? Now the first thing is, guys, here on my PC, you're going to see exactly what Mark spent the bulk of his money on. Now, the first thing I noticed is that whenever Mark got this $1 million, by the way, it wasn't a million per se, it was $1 million. However, he had to pay taxes on that, and however, let's say taxes were like maybe 20 to 30%. MrBeast said like 40%, but that's very rare. However, let's say 30% as highest, right? So now he's paying 30% of that $1 million towards taxes, so that's $300,000, plus he gave Chandler $100,000. Now, altogether, we're talking about $400,000 that's no longer his, plus he gave another guy like $50,000, so in total, his total home keep was around like $550,000, almost half of the money he actually won. Now, is that MrBeast's fault? The answer is no. It's part of the game. He has to pay taxes. I get that entire situation, okay? Now, here's the first things he spent his money on, and I'm gonna break it down exactly if there were good investments or bad investments. By the way, I started by making $60 a week, guys, okay? And now I make a little bit over $15,000, and I didn't get like a contest to win $1 million. However, this stuff is pretty awesome, okay? But let's check out exactly what he spent the money on, okay? Now in this video, so let's go right here. Let's see what exactly he spent his money on. Now the first thing is, okay, right here.
So before we go any further, let's break down everything we spent so far. You spent $23,000 at Best Buy, $20,000 on...
Okay, so he spent $23,000 at Best Buy. Now, he spent that money by buying his family iPhones, computers, MacBooks, and all this stuff. Now, the first thing is this, guys. All that stuff are literally liabilities, right? Now, the main thing is this, guys, right? Whenever you buy a liability, you have to understand that liabilities just take money away from your pocket. So none of this stuff is gonna like have some positive return onto him unless he start using those computers and like video games, whatever, just to start like making videos, to like do something with work. However, all those things in Best Buy, most of the things were literally just liabilities, like the laptops for his family, all these material things, PS4s. That doesn't really add any value. It's just kind of like another expense, because now you have a MacBook, so now you need an iPhone, so now you got an iPhone, and all this stuff right here, $20,000 in utilities like electronics with iPhones, none of that stuff is good, okay? None of it is assets.
A wedding ring, $100,000.
All right, right there. He spent $23,000 on a wedding ring for his wife, his fiance. I think it's his wife, right? Mark, great job on that, okay? But the main thing is this, right? They have a really good relationship, I can tell, right? His wife loves him, he loves his wife. I think the ring that he originally bought was like $600. So why spend another $23,000 on a liability that literally won't do anything for her? Now, my entire perspective here is kind of twisted because, again, I'm an accountant, I'm an investor, I'm very frugal. I don't buy any of this stuff. Like most of the stuff I have here, like Apple Watches, AirPods, like all the stuff I have, like iPhones, all this stuff, I get it for free. So from my perspective, buying all this stuff for like his wife and his friends and his family, none of that stuff does anything for them in the long run, because I'm gonna tell you guys why later on, okay? But let's see what else he bought.
$1,000 on cars, $165,000 on a house.
All right, so right here, he spent what is it? Let me see. Let me play that back.
Any further, let's break down everything we spent so far. You spent $23,000 at Best Buy, $20,000 on a wedding ring, $100,000 on cars.
$100,000 on cars. $100,000 on cars. I think the car Mark was driving cost around $1,000, and it took him from place A to B. Now, I know the car was messed up. It kind of looked messed up, to be honest. However, $100,000 on a vehicle to take it from point A to point B that is going to devalue in the next 3 years and lose around like 20 to 40% of all its value in the next 3 years. Not a good investment, okay? Vehicles should usually be bought used, and the reason is because you don't want to be able to lose all that value. You want to kind of minimize that loss by buying a used vehicle from someone that bought it brand new, and that way you minimize the entire loss of devaluation, okay? But so far, all these things that he's bought are all like materialistic and don't really add any value whatsoever. So let's keep watching.
$165,000 on a house, $30,000 on.
All right, so he spent $165. By the way, I'm pausing a lot, but I want to break everything down here. He spent $165,000 on a house. Now, by the way, guys, this is like one of like the only good investments he's made so far, because everything else has been like liabilities. So this house right here that he bought, he actually had a closing fee of around $15,000 divided by $165,000. That means that his closing fee was around almost 10%, which is kind of insane if you ask me. It should be usually around 5%. However, these things aren't normal. People don't just buy a house in one day. It's kind of weird, to be honest. However, he bought this house for his family. By the way, the single biggest investments he's made so far. By the way, imagine if he like took that $1 million and you literally just like bought like 5 to 6 houses and rented it out and literally just live off the income. That's a possibility also. However, he didn't do that. He bought like cars, electronics and rings, and this, it doesn't make any sense, okay? But the house, great investment, and probably like the only thing that's gonna be a good thing from this entire like experience, okay? Now let's keep watching here.
Furniture and $30,000 on appliances. So far we spent $368,000 on material things. $15,000.
Furniture and appliances. That's a lot of money on liabilities. At the end, here's the thing, right, guys? You can't expect someone that doesn't know how to play with money and how to use money to just learn how to, like, you know, how to be an expert overnight. Like, all the money he spent here, the only good investment he made out of $363,000 was buying a house for $165,000. So the other half went to pure liabilities that will probably eat at his pockets as like things keep going. Because, by the way, MrBeast isn't gonna give him like money like all the time, right? So basically, now all these cars, all the maintenance for all these appliances, they're all on him now, okay? So let's keep watching.
For the closing costs of your house, $20,000 for utilities, bills, just random things that go wrong. And you've given away $30,000, $15,000 to your mom, and then the $15,000 you told me you want to give to your mother-in-law. So Chandler won $100. That was a predetermined rule before the $1 Million Challenge. The coach of the contestant got $100 grand. And then also during the last to stop biking video, you said.
Okay, so here's the thing. He gave his mom $30,000, $15,000 for his mom, and $15,000 for like his stepmom or something like that. I'm not sure, but the concept is, you know, he gave money to his mom, and that's awesome. You know, I respect that a lot. And usually, as you know, I come from poverty also, and the first thing we think about is like, okay, how can I help my mom out? Let me give her like this much money. But in reality, giving someone that doesn't know how to handle money doesn't really make anything better. The best thing you can do is teach them how to make money and also put assets into their life. For example, like buy them a house that makes them money, and then that money they get, but they can't really hurt themselves because that money is gonna keep coming in over and over again. But if you give them $50,000 in the next year or so, that money's gone, okay? Let's keep watching here.
At this. If you win the $1 million, you want to give him 50 grand?
Yes, I want to give him 50 grand.
Aww. Basically, you promised Jeremy $50,000.
Yes, I did.
And that brings your total up to $583,000. So now this video is going to get a little more serious because obviously Mark needs to set aside money for taxes and also do some investing. So Mark didn't actually receive all $1 million because he gave Chandler $100,000 and Jeremy.
So far in houses and the fees for you know, like Chandler, and also the fee that he gave to the other guy, $50,000, like total he spent so far $583,000, okay, off $1 million. Now taxes is where things are getting tricky here.
$50,000. So what he got is $850,000. So Mark wants to set aside $340,000, basically 40%, just to make sure all his tax liabilities are covered. But now let's talk about Chandler.
Okay, right here, guys, okay? MrBeast said he set aside 40% for taxes, right? Out of the money that he got. Now, that's not that bad at all, okay? Now, I'm assuming taxes are gonna be like maybe between 40 to 30% or so on. However, this entire thing right here also benefits MrBeast because again, he gave away from his business $1 million, thus that's also a tax write-off from his business, thus MrBeast saves money, Mark gets money, everyone's happy, but it's not just like, oh, only Mark and he has money for the taxes. No, MrBeast also gets a benefit from that. By the way, I think his mom is an accountant, so she knows that also. Very smart, good mom, by the way. But the concept is right here, right off the bat, okay, if MrBeast would have given, by the way, here's a little technique that I would have probably used, okay? I would have told MrBeast, hey, MrBeast, I have a company, I have an LLC. Can you pay my company that $1 million for the challenge? If he said yes, then I would be like, okay, cool. Now, I would have used that company to spend all that money and limit my tax liability at the end of the year. However, you can't expect people to know about this stuff because most people, they just don't know about this stuff. So it's not going to be like, oh, day and night all the time, okay? But that's what I would have done to avoid taxes in a legal way, by the way, okay? But let's keep watching.
You spent $16,000 at Best Buy and $44,000 on bills. So you spent 60. So you spent you spent 60 grand. Jeremy spent $30,000 and then set aside 20 grand for taxes. So that's another 50,000. So that is exactly where 923,000 of the $1 million went. I'm trying to be as transparent as possible because I know a lot of you won't believe me that I gave away $1 million, but I'm literally showing.
Yeah, he literally did give away $1 million, okay? That's crazy.
Showing you right here, we did.
He really did.
You have 77 grand left. I know you talked about wanting to maybe invest 50K and then.
Okay, right here, okay? This is the funny part to me. He's going to invest $50,000 out of $850,000 he actually received. That's the craziest thing, okay? Here's the math to this, okay? I'm gonna do the math right here. Imagine if you got $850,000 and you only invested $50,000. Well, in percentages, that's only around 5% or 6% of your money that you're actually going to invest. Everything else except the house went to pure liabilities, things that will not add any value at all to him or produce any income for you, okay? Now let's keep watching, but I'm going to tell you guys exactly what I think is going to happen with entire situation here.
Set aside like the other 23 for just other little nuances here and there. And to be 100% honest, we went into an investing firm and they told us we couldn't record. So you'll have to meet with the financial expert on your own. I really wanted to show you guys where all the money went. I'm gonna just close this.
That's $1 million.
That's where the $1 million went. Mark, it's crazy that all of this happened because you put your hand on $1 million and you were the last to take it off. One of my goals for this video was just to make sure you don't get screwed over. Like, I genuinely think you will do fine. If you ever need anything, just let me know.
Thank you.
All right, right here, right? MrBeast said he doesn't want to get him screwed over. Now, the entire thing is this, guys, right? MrBeast can never be seen like a bad guy, never ever, because either way, this guy would have never had access to $1 million. So even if he gave him 24 hours to spend $1 million, or even 12 hours, even 5 hours, like 5 hours or 1 minute, doesn't matter, okay? Because he wouldn't ever have access to that money. However, here's what I think is going to happen here, okay? Now, I've noticed his spending patterns. Most of the things he bought basically were cars, electronics, and then he bought like a house, and then he left some money over for investing, but only around 5%. So here's what's going to happen in accordance, not to me, but in accordance to logic and also in accordance to history. Now, if you guys don't know this, right, lottery winners, on average, whenever they win a lottery, they only keep up that lifestyle for around like 5 years or so. After that, all the money's gone. So far in 24 hours, all this money that he just like got, everything's gone. Now, the way to avoid that would probably been to open up a business and use that business to invest all the money and then produce more income for himself. However, here's the overall problem with this, guys. Mark seems like a nice guy, but the main thing is this, right? He didn't invest into anything that would increase his income. So for example, now he has 2 fancy cars, he has a nice house, he has all these electronics like Nintendo Switches, a new iPhone 11, all this stuff, the pro stuff, all the headphones, all this fancy stuff. However, Mark still has the same exact job, the same minimum wage job, and how does this change now? The only way his entire future can change if he's making a YouTube channel, he learns more about finance, and he starts producing more income. But however, right now, Mark just got $1 million, and all he did was spend it on liabilities, got 1 house, and that's about it. The rest is gone. But he only has $50,000 on the side for investing and $23,000 for savings. But trust me when I say this, okay? I strongly believe, and I hope I'm wrong, okay? I strongly believe in the next 3 to 4 years, when we check back on Mark, all that savings and investing will be gone. It'll be obliterated. Unless, Mark, if you're watching this video, I love you, man. MrBeast, I love you also. But the concept is, the only way to change this pattern around is by basically going out there, Mark, and doing one thing, okay? Learn how to invest your money. If I were you, I'd probably go back to the stores, return all that nonsense, and literally just return the cars also, keep all that money and invest it. Now tell me, how would you invest that money? The answer is, guys, I would invest into what I know. I know YouTube, I know businesses, I know how to make money, I know how to make sales, I know how to invest into ETFs. So what I would have done with $1 million literally by keeping my hand on a piece of money for like 48 hours. I don't know if I could do that, by the way, but basically if I had $1 million just like this, I would grab that money and put it into real estate and also investments. So I would put 50% into real estate, but before that, I would put it into an LLC and then spend all the money throughout the LLC and then reduce my tax liability at the end of the year. Complicated topic, but it still works. Ask MrBeast mom, she'll tell you about it. But the concept is, guys, I would have used at least $500,000, half of the money, literally to invest into real estate, right? And I would expect at least a 10% return on my money every single year. So every single year, this $500,000 would make me a little bit over $50,000 in income. Now this means Mark no longer has to work ever again. On top of that, the other $350,000, I would have put that easily into my investment portfolio in ACORNs or any other investment platform that invests into ETFs, low risk stuff, and I would have gotten paid just in dividends every single year around 2.35%. And on top of that, my investments would have grown by around 7% every single year. So in reality, my $350,000 investments into ACORNs would have paid me around $235, would have paid me around $8,000 every single year, plus the money I made from real estate, $50,000. My total income would have increased by $58,000. Now, what is this? This is boring, okay? It's way better entertainment when you see someone spend all the money on houses, cars, jewelry, all this fancy stuff. But in reality, none of this stuff changes his life because at the end of the day, he still has the same income. Now, I hope to God, okay? I hope to God he watches this video. And here's what I recommend, okay? Read books, take courses, learn how to invest, and that way you change your life. I would keep the same living lifestyle, don't expand anything, return all that stuff. And MrBeast, great job limiting your tax liability, and also great job on a great video, and great job in changing somebody's life, okay? But these are the facts, okay? And usually this is what happens all the time. People lose all their money. And guys, as always, if you guys enjoyed this video, like this video, really appreciate it. Also, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell to get notified. If you want to talk to me one-on-one, uno, just DM me on Instagram at TommyBryson. And as always, if you want to watch another video, for example, on how I live literally on $60 a week while I make $15,000 a month, well, watch this video right here. On top of that, subscribe to the channel, click my face right here, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for watching, and as always, peace. Good luck. Mark.